So welcome to today's Research for Africa's Education think tank. We are really excited to be at the point 2.5 years since Africa Voices Dialogue first was initiated. This has been a long-term dream of ours, and while we have done quite a lot of Africa Voices Dialogue has contributed to quite a number of research papers and of research forums. What we really have been wanting for a very long time to do is create an activated, very vibrant, polyfocal, multi-geographic opportunity for us to research together, think together, support each other, and in the ethos and spirit and intention of Africa Voices Dialogue, to create a space within this entity that allows our young researchers, our more established researchers who are coming from very different levels of the system, to be seen, heard, and loved, to be able to connect with each other, to experience a sense of belonging, and for us to really start to facilitate and foster a true network within which the energy can flow, and through which we can really bring the voice of Africa's education, innovation, what is happening on the ground in the African context, into sight, into line of visibility, and through the voice of our own continent. So through our own researchers speaking about their lived experiences, their lived contexts, their lived stories, and elevating the, quite frankly, often unbelievable work that is happening on the continent, and very exciting work. And so, yeah, today's session, just to kind of position it correctly, is very much about co-creation. So we do not have the answers and solutions. For anybody who's been in our Africa Voices Dialogue space before, you'll be aware that what we are really seeking to do is to facilitate space for dialogue, for conversation, for thinking together, and to foster those conditions for connection, relationality, trust to develop, and out of that see what spontaneously emerges and how we can create things together that we believe should exist, but we don't necessarily have all the answers on how they should come into being. And so today is about the creation and support of such a research think tank, to support the members of our community who are developing their researcher's career, who are already researching and advocating on topical issues affecting education in the continent, and to elevate the voice of African education research, as well as to see increasingly how we bridge the policy practice gap in our own context, in our own continent, and how we just facilitate this communication across what is sometimes experienced as an enormous divide. But it is something for us to co-create together. So we are not coming saying we have the answers, we have funding, we have ideas in mind. We are coming to say, what shall we do together? And what we'd like to also do in terms of that is to welcome a couple of, well, there are many people, but particularly we just want to welcome Jill today from the Canons Collins Trust, who you'll hear from a little bit later. And Jill has been, well, she's been an amazing thinking partner to me for quite some time in our South African learning space with some work that I do there. And she is an amazing thinking partner in terms of how could we potentially mobilize this space. So welcome, Jill. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome also to Karima Ujani, who is a long-standing member of the Africa Voices Dialogue community and founder member of the Heritage and Equity Network, and who is always phenomenal in terms of helping us with linguistic support. So if there are any people who feel much more comfortable in either Arabic or French, Karima will be helping us with a breakaway room just so that language is a little more comfortable. Again, we wish we could have many more, but at this point in time, not yet. And yeah, looking forward to a great conversation. So just a heads up about our approach today. Slightly different from our normal dialogues, but not so very much so that it's unfamiliar. So what we are really looking for is to foster dialogue and thinking together. And so our open room space is going to be fairly open, and a lot of opportunity for engaging and conversing into this space. And then a lot of we're really asking, both in this session and subsequently to this session, for ongoing thinking about what we might want to co-create together and contributions. And please just connect with us. You should have received on the email that gave you the calendar invite our email addresses. They are also on our website, and I will also post into the chat a little later. If you have thoughts and ideas or ways in which you would like to contribute, or you see opportunities for us to work effectively together, please do share with us. We're really looking to create a cohort of people rather than an organization that's going to make something happen, to create a cohort of us to co-create the possibilities here. In between our times together, we will go into breakaway rooms, and the rationale for this in our context is very important, which is that we believe that every voice matters, every thought and opinion, well, every opinion needs to have a space to air, and so we invite ourselves in these rooms to really pay attention to one another, to pay attention with our whole beings, to pay attention to equality of thought, so that we create space for every person in the room to have an opportunity to share their thoughts. And what we are also asking for this session is, whenever you go into a breakaway room, if one person would be kind enough to try and capture what is coming out of that breakaway room, simply so that we can craft an approach to this think tank for the coming future. Yeah, and then, you know, this is exactly so to map our thinking. So that the purpose of capturing is so that we can actually take that into further thinking, map a little bit, and try and coalesce a pathway forward. Andrew, I don't know if you would like to add anything, because I'm so sorry. I see that that was all your piece that I've just done. But perhaps you could just take us forward into kind of our history as Africa Voices Dialogue. So there's a bit of context.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. Actually, I'm so much delighted to see different participants from different backgrounds, different experiences joining us. And the way we started with an idea. Africa Voices Dialogue came up as an idea when we met in Morocco, as we were attending the ICSI 2020 conference. And that after the conference, Robin, Aziz, and I kept on having a conversation on how can we bridge the gap, because we noted that the voice of the marginalized students, the voice of marginalized educators, that is policymakers, researchers, and practitioners, are hardly heard. And as a result, we kept the conversation, and later settled on the name Africa Voices Dialogue. So underlining the term dialogue, we wanted to create a convening space where every voice matters, whether from marginalized zone or whether from affluent societies. We wanted to ensure that every voice matters. And from this picture, you can see no matter what the students are doing, no matter what the educators, because from this picture you can see some of them are students, others are educators, and others are probably mentors. It's a picture which is speaking 1,000 words. So we came together and created that space, that convening space, where everybody can express themselves, every educator can speak of their mind, and we encourage the freedom of thought, the freedom of expression, and grow together as a community. And that's why we are so delighted to go this far after that 2020 experience. We have grown, and we have held several dialogues, several workshops, several learning sessions, and today is just an extension of asking ourselves, what about having a think tank? And many times we just talk about a think tank, not really having a deep comprehension of the meaning of the term think tank. A think tank is a group of people who come together to co-create, to connect, to commit, and produce knowledge, and also validate knowledge as well. Because everybody in the society, regardless of class, is knowledgeable in one way or another. And you can see Robin has given us a map here of how we started in 2020 with an idea. And now today we are 2020, from 2020 to 2022, we have held several dialogues, several workshops, several learning shops. And now we are in 2023. Robin, we can go to the next slide. Now we're
I'll just skip a few because yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now we're in 2023 in the month of June. And it looks very bright today as we launch this research think tank. We are so much privileged because in this house, we have scholars in this house, we have educators in this house, we have policymakers, researchers, and even established educators in this matter. You can see from this map, we have held those conversations, we have held those learning spaces in different countries. We have been to Morocco, we have been to Nigeria, we have been to Ghana, we have been to Ethiopia, that is Egypt, we have been to Kenya, we have been to Uganda, we have been to South Africa and many parts of Africa. And this is our community. You can see these photos. All these photos are the events which have taken place so far. You can see very beautiful photos of workshops, of learning sessions, of conversations which have taken place. And this map depicts of those spots. Of course, they are virtual spots because ever since the inception of Africa Voices Dialogue, we have held virtual dialogues and virtual workshops and also virtual learning shops. But we look forward to having in-person conference. We are thinking of sometime next year, if all of us can come together, maybe in a place like in Kenya or in South Africa or in Morocco or in one of the African countries. But we shall share the details with you in due course. So we are so much delighted. This has been made possible because of your participation. This has been made possible because of your support and because of your connection. And in the process, when we were starting Africa Voices Dialogue, our aim was to promote learning in the continent. But later, we were forced to follow the principle of let 1,000 flowers bloom. And in the process of 1,000 flowers blooming, we have established several networks within the Africa Voices Dialogue. And one of the networks which has emerged very strongly, and one of its leaders is here, Karima Kaudoui, is the Heritage and Equity Network. The other network which is taking root very strongly is Peace Building Network. Another one is Parental Empowerment Network. And today, in this research conversation, in this research dialogue, we are talking about research work. Because, I mean, education should always be led by research. If there's no research, then we are talking about opinions. And opinions will not inform teaching and learning. So we are so delighted that these networks have taken shape in the principle of let 1,000 flowers bloom. You can see the circles. Those are kind of the flowers which are blooming. And we are so delighted because together we have moved this far. So much happy and so much delighted to have you all in this room. Next slide, Robin.
Perfect.
And Robin, would you like to talk about your experience in Uganda?
Absolutely. So, I mean, look, it's just a couple of visuals because I think they so beautifully depict what happens and what we are hoping to happen by making it possible over time, increasingly for more of us to gather in person. So we were really privileged to be able to gather in person with some of our Ugandan colleagues in November. And it was the most beautiful experience because although we had only met online previously, the sense of love and belonging and care and fun and being human together was just remarkable. And we really, really are hoping to be able to increasingly foster that. We have big dreams and visions and holding thumbs to really be able to partner well in order to bring those to fruition and to realize them. And really the ethos of our Africa Voices dialogue approach can be summarized by our intention to first connect, to converse. So the dialogic space is a space for conversation, for sense making together, for being able to find each other, to find where we sit in our system, to understand the system that we're operating in better. Then to commit. So this process of, through relationship, being able to commit. So not doing work, not being in relationship for the sake of work, but finding work emerging out of the quality of the relationship that is built, and bringing our full selves and our full thinking and the things that we are passionate about into the room, and finding like-minded people in order to create something new. And then finally, exactly, to co-create. So it's beautiful: connect, converse, commit, co-create. Thank you, Aziz, for the articulation of that. And another way that we sort of visualize it is understanding how our really powerful relational communities develop, again, through convening them or connecting them, to moving to sort of being able to be in conversation, to be able to co-labor, co-work and think together, move to co-creation, and then really everything that we hope to facilitate in this space, which is to deepen our levels of insight and humanize our learning together and humanize our connection together.
And
So
Robin,
that we can, yes,
Robin, just to emphasize on that photo, you can go back, please.
Which one?
Yes, that one. When you look at these, at our 4 C's, and as you've said, thank you, Aziz, for coming up with these 4 C's. There can never be a relationship before convening. So people have to convene first. And after convening is when they connect. And after connecting is now when when now they start talking about how can we collaborate? How can we work on a particular project? How can we work on a particular assignment? How can we do these activities together? Now, through this collaboration, now they co-create. So it's a process, and that's why we show the journey from where we came from. We came together, all of us as a family. We started a relationship through convening, and through that convening, now we connected, and the relationship is getting even bigger and better, and even deeper. And now we are collaborating. Today, talking about a research hub, we are talking about now collaboration. How can we use the research to guide our education? How can we use the research to guide to influence policy or to influence the practice? And now from there, now we can talk about co-creation. Yes, Robin?
Fantastic. Thank you. There we go. So really what we are wanting to understand is, what does it take? What are the conditions for creating thriving learning ecosystem? It's great conceptually, but actually in practice, how do we do that? And for our Africa Voices dialogue space, how do we do that virtually? And it's been an incredible journey together with all of the people who have over time participated in this space, and with you. So thank you. Yeah, so just kind of bringing us back to the Africa Voices dialogue space and where it feels like we are emerging now, what is being created. So I'm going to ask Aziz if he can please speak a little, take us out of that sort of historic context and bring us into thinking about this session in particular today. So thank you all for sharing your RSVP form and the information that you brought on that. Thank you to our colleague Aileen for compiling a little bit of a snapshot of that. It's obviously such rich input. And Aziz, if you could just walk us through who is both in the room but also expressed interest in this space. And I'll hand over to you.
Well, thank you, Robin and Andrew, for such a beautiful introduction. And thank you all for joining us again. Before I say anything about this session, I just want us to clarify something. Africa Voices Dialogue has its heart in Africa and has its mind in the world, in the whole world. So there are people joining us from different continents, and it's been the case forever, since we started like 2 years ago, or a little bit more than 2 years now. So we welcome everyone who is joining us and joining efforts with us to improve humanity, or to at least show our humanity to the world and connect through our humanity. And as Andrew said, we convene or we converse to connect, to commit together, to co-create. That's how we do it, and that's what we want to do. The idea for this research hub started building more than a year ago, probably 2 years now. We've always been thinking about it, and we have been thinking about ways to start it and to at least involve our friends in thinking about it. And today's session is, as we said, it's a think tank. So we are happy to have you all joining us. And we want to think of this space as a space to convene everyone who is interested in research and development. We know that research and development are crucial for any positive change. We hope that the chats that we are going to have in either in the breakaway rooms or in this big room are going to be rich. And one thing about our framework is that this is, as we said, we call it Africa Voices Dialogue. It is a free dialogue. Everyone should feel comfortable to chat and to express themselves, talk about their interests, their visions for a research hub. We showed the hubs that we already have. We want to start this research hub with you and for Africa. But of course, as I said, if we're thinking about Africa, we're thinking about the world. So Africa's place in the world is important, and the world in Africa's mind is also important. Thank you, Robin. I think I'll get back to you or Andrew to talk about the data from the RSVP forms.
Great, thank you, Aziz. So just really briefly, we'd like to kind of reflect back to you, to mirror back to this community what has been come through in terms of the data from the RSVP forms, so that you can see and recognize ourselves collectively. And so a couple of the questions that we asked, we were really interested to understand what people's interest, if there was an interest, what people's interest was. And so we asked sort of what people's research experience and interest was. And this is a little bit outdated. It's from about 4 days ago. So we've had quite a few additional RSVPs. But it's really great to see that we have a strong novice and emerging researcher population. We are really keen to see if it's possible to support, mentor, partner with open access. I think this is a very important thing, like open access for young researchers to practice, to grow their research voice, to experience interactions with very diverse, experienced researchers. And so this demographic is fantastic because we have a beautiful population of young emergent researchers, we have research supervisors, we have a number of established researchers and people with significant research experience. And it's a beautiful balance. And we really hope that out of this, we can facilitate some wonderful interactions, connections, supportive paradigms, and a growing level of experience in the continent, or in this community in the continent at least.
Robin,
yes, Andrew?
You can go back to the slide again. Yes, you can see this is a mix. It's a mix of different people, from those who are experienced, to those who are starting being researchers. And in Africa Voices Dialogue, we have rich data so far. We know the dialogue sessions we have held, we know the workshop sessions we have held, and all the learning shops we have held. We have a rich data. And people always start from somewhere. Even those experienced researchers in this room, at one point they were novice researchers. So you don't hear of this word, then you feel cold, that you feel that you cannot be an experienced researcher. There's always a starting point. And it would be quite interesting after the session, it will be quite interesting to hear your views and see where you can fit and how we can help you, how we can help each other to grow in the research field. So it's all of us are learning. And as we have said, co-creating and convening and communicating, we can do a lot together. So it can be a big word, yes, but again, it is doable.
Fantastic.
Robin?
Thank you,
Well,
Andrew.
before Robin goes on, I just would like everyone to join me in congratulating Andrew for successfully defending his PhD. He has just defended his PhD, and he's now Dr. Andrew Wambua. Congratulations, Andrew.
Fantastic. It absolutely is. So we've had movement on this slide already because we have our own doctor and our own professor. So congratulations, Andrew. It's really fantastic. We're so proud of your achievement. Andrew achieved his doctorate about 3 weeks ago. So he's just returned from Germany where he defended it. And well done, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you so much, Aziz. And thank you so much, Joyce, and also the whole community, Lisa, and all the whole community for the support which you have been according us. Very much appreciated. I would say AVD has really been played a key role in my research. It has made me think deeper, think better, and become a better researcher, become a better practitioner. And also in the process, I hope that will be a better policymaker. They say after completing your PhD, you are just starting it. It's not, actually, you are just now starting it. That's what many people have told me. They have told me that's not the end, but the beginning. So I look forward to partnering with you and move with you throughout this journey. So thank you so much.
Well done, Andrew. Great. So I'm going to try and get through these quickly so that it can stop being a few voices and we can just open up for any freshest thinking that's come through out of this sharing. But just to go back to the RSVPs, we were also interested to understand what kinds of topics are people interested in and who's interested in those topics and where could we potentially convene and learn from each other. And so these are the categories that people came back with in terms of what they are interested in this field. I'm not going to read through them. I'm sure that you can read faster than I can talk. But really interesting to see the balance and to see the mix, and also quite keen to hear what other areas. And Tim, to your point, health. So I think a couple of things: health, gender equity. These are big issues. So the sort of what is the environment surrounding children, including their health, including their psychosocial well-being, etc., that supports learning. And it'll be great to hear over the course of today what people are interested in a little bit at a little deeper level. These are the regions that we have researchers joining from. Thank you to East Africa. So we have a very strong East Africa presence because we do have a very strong partnership with really the Regional Education and Learning Initiative in East Africa, and that they have a huge research focus as well. So it's a partner we are very grateful and very thrilled to be aligned with. And then just in terms of why people are responding to this think tank space, what are people interested in? So fantastic to see the sort of quantum of people who really just are looking for thinking partnership, for peers, for people that they can bounce things off, for people that they can share their research with to sort of build a stronger capacity in their own writing and their own thinking. Also people who are keen to actually start working together, to co-explore topics of interest. We believe that there is a very big need for opening up access pathways, and we really hope that it will be possible in this think tank space to fulfill some of that role. So opening up access for researchers to research institutions for support, to grant funding, to peer learning networks, to potentially copywriting partners, etc. And then the training, mentoring, and capacity building is also another thing that it's really nice to see reflected, because we believe it's something we would really be keen to co-facilitate. And it's nice to see that reflected back in this space as well. And so, yeah, we're not going to move into breakaway rooms yet. We'll do that just now. I'm going to stop the sharing and just ask, well, a couple of things. So, Fistar, we see that you are in the room. We want to congratulate you. So whoever would like to, unmute and clap your hands or emoji or whatever it might be, we really have been thrilled at your progression, Fistom, through the multiple networks that you are part of. Just how, your incredible dream, for where your life will take you is emerging, and we cannot wait to see where it goes further. So, Fistar, are you on? I can't see everybody, so if you're on, just if you'd like to, you weren't here yet when Lisa was sharing your Concordia University's journey, but if you'd like to just unmute and say hi.
Hi. Oh, I'm on, Robin. My video is actually on.
Yeah, I see you.
I'm really happy. I shared with Liza, I think, somebody today in my morning, and said I have a mixed feelings of happiness, excitement together, but also, just getting ready for college, which is a whole journey to step on. So thank you everybody. Very happy.
Yeah, and Fistar, I think, an absolute exemplar of the power of network and relationship. What happens if you step into network and relationship, how pathways open. It's just been beautiful to witness.
And Robin, Houston has shown us that nothing is impossible, because he has overcome all odds to be where he's going. Houston, I wish you can just share a little bit of your story from a harsh backgrounds, from a war-torn country, to now heading to Canada to do your degree. Maybe 2 minutes to just briefly share your story.
Well, I wish I could share it even more detailed. I have 3 pages document that has everything about me, how I got to leave country of nativity to be in Uganda and then getting ready for Concordia. What I would put out there is just Liza talks about this very, very often, and that is, doing something with a mesh perspective. So I'm a product of networking. I'm a product of all the community check-ins I've been part of, and AVD has really been a strong support. This is why I met Liza. So I met Robin and all the AVD families who've been more than just virtual connections. So it's really an immense honor for me and gratitude that I hold and I will forever hold in my heart.
Yeah, Fistar, we can't wait to see your journey, really.
Yes, we are good and looking forward to having you grow in AVD as a strong pillar, even to motivate the hopeless in the society and show them that everything is possible, no matter how difficult it may be.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to just say a few words very, very quickly. I think that Fiston's journey, it's certainly not unique in Africa, but it's very special. But at the same time, it just showcases individual self-efficacy and collective self-efficacy, and how it is in Africa we have the capacity to connect and create something together. Of course, working with all people who love humanity around the world. So thank you, Fiston, and big thanks to everyone who has been contributing to this journey. And I'm sure that it's just the first step towards a very, very interesting journey that we're going to see in the future. So congratulations and best wishes.
Fantastic. And we are also so thrilled today. So just a shout out as well. We have a third Africa Voices Dialogue baby who has joined us. And Boniface, I'm not sure what your signal is like, but if you can pop your video on, and if you can just share with us, Boniface has just become a father, and we are thrilled for you, Boniface. Congratulations. So proud of you on your little girl who is named Karima, and completely excited about that. So Boniface, if you're there, congratulations. Please share with us your news and yeah, how she is. So Boniface is still muted, so we'll come. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Roxana.
Thanks, Robin. I think it's also building a little bit on what Tim was saying, but I had written a paper for NORAG recently. It hasn't been published. I think it should come out quite soon, on the narratives of change for systems change. And the model that I'm sort of proposing in this paper is basically community ownership, building that community ownership for systems change. I find that especially with philanthropists coming in to solve community problems without the narrative of the community itself is where we actually go wrong. So I'd like to share that. I'll share that paper and maybe you can email it, or we wait for the publication, I'm not sure. But when I got this invite, I got so excited. I thought this is the platform to actually talk about research in education, to share and highlight the voices, because there's a lot of work being done, but I just don't think we're getting it out there sufficiently. So when we present at international conferences, and it's the EU that dominates the research space and that gets published and that provides the solutions, it's UNESCO that takes the lead and does a lot of research in Africa, but I'm not sure if it's the African researchers and the African expertise that is being showcased sufficiently. And so I was very excited that there is this kind of platform that's now being made available. And I think it's a real great start to have that collaboration where, as Africa and the continent itself, that we can come together and then showcase this to the rest of the world. I think we've been very suppressed for various reasons. And now's the time to actually highlight that, the expertise, the experience, the voices, the change makers that have been active, but just not, I think, thriving in their own space. So I want to congratulate Africa Voices for the start of this. And it's really very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. So I'm not sure if I'm not seeing any other hands up, but it is wonderful to say hi to you, Karima Kadawi, welcome. And also Boniface is back with us. So Boniface, I'm not sure how much you heard of our congratulations to you on the birth of your gorgeous daughter, Karima. But if you are able to unmute and just share a little bit about her with us. And if she is with you, if we can see her, that would make us so happy. But let's try again. Boniface, are you around?
Greetings, everyone. I'm really happy to see you today. Really so happy that eventually I got a daughter after my marriage. Because that is after joining the AVD, then getting connected to friends, getting support from friends, connecting to each other. So as a sign of love, for sure, for me, I really, because I first connected to Fiston, then Fiston connected me to Karima connecting me to the EVD team. Then I was like, as a sign of, memory and love that you guys have showed me, I decided to call my daughter Karima Dari Skyla. This is really something that will keep in mind, showing me the love you guys have showed me and the connection that has been among us. And I really believe in the future, if we have that kind of interaction and connection and friendship, I think we are likely to push it so high and high. I'm a guy who has been in a refugee setting for over 29 years, and I have never been exposed to the world, share with friends outside, of course, settlements. And when I came to know people in AVD and started interacting with different people, like it opened my mind and it opened my opportunities to meeting people and also connecting other people that I've been meeting in AVD. I think I've shared a photo of my daughter with Robin. I don't know whether you have accessed it through my WhatsApp.
I haven't yet. What I'm going to do is while everybody's in breakaway rooms, I'm going to send it to myself. I'm going to put it on our slide so we can all greet Karima. And
Yes.
oh, we wish we could give her hugs and presents. So just give her a lot of them tonight, please, Boniface.
For sure, for sure. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Boniface. Haruna, welcome to you. So Haruna is more, congrats to our wonderful Haruna from Niger, who is, along with Chakri and a couple of others, huge influence in the peace building network. So just to say, it's not AVD's peace building network, it's a number of amazing human beings doing work in the peace building space. Welcome to
Robin,
Haruna and
Rashid.
Barbara.
Rashid.
Yes, Rashid,
Rashid.
your hand is up. So Rashid, if you'd like to speak a bit.
Hi, everyone. I'm very grateful. I think I'm loud and clear. I'm Honorable Rashid. I'm a youth counselor for Makinde Division and also a director and the founder of Young African Advocacy Initiative, a youth led that serves the interest of the young people. I want to congratulate my brother Boniface and my brother Fiston. Thank you. May God keep you winning. I want to contribute something just on your previous submission, Robin. I would maybe think of as AVD, we need also to look at how we can do, how we can advocate for sensitization of the founders of schools, because just like a previous speaker talked about, that the founders of schools are money-minded people. They're not looking at solving the interests of the African continent. So we need to see how we can adopt that idea of supporting the sensitization so that people start up schools with a mission of helping Africa grow. Thank you so much. I wish you a better deliberations. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wonderful. So we're going to go into a little bit of a thinking phase with each other now, and how we are going to do that, let me just share this back here, is to go into a set of breakaway rooms. So we have 35 of us on the call, which gives us, we'll aim to have sort of 5 or 6 people in each room. We've got a couple of breakaway rooms this session. And what we would like to ask is, please, as you go into the breakaway room, if somebody could just nominate, we don't care where it is or how it is, if you could just nominate yourself to capture what is coming through from the breakaway rooms. You are welcome to capture it in a notebook if that's easiest for you, and then to share it back with us later. Or we have created Jamboards, but we are very aware that it's difficult to work off Jamboards, and a lot of our community joins on their cell phone. So that's not easy, to do a Jamboard engagement when you're on your cell phone. But either somebody in the room can scribe to the Jamboard, or if someone can just capture and either write back into the chat, or write in a notebook and just share with us subsequently. That would be really, really wonderful. So our first breakaway room, and excuse the extremely verbose slide here, but the first breakaway room, we really want to explore what research themes are you interested in. So in your small groups, to please make sure that each of you has an opportunity. Not all of you might be interested in research, and that's fine. We're not expecting everybody to have that interest, but just what do you think we should prioritize as a think tank? What is the sort of 1 or 2 first things that we could think about starting off with? Then if we could share a little bit around in your group, what is the existing work happening? So what are people working on? What kind of richness of existing research is present in our collective group? And then perhaps, what do you have an appetite for? So what would you be interested in looking at further? And it's partly to hear yourself think through what interests you, but also for us to sort of start to assimilate, okay, this is where the heat lies. This is what people are interested in. And this is a good space to think about starting. So is everybody comfortable with that? I'm going to share it in the main chat. Oopsie, sorry. Let me just, first I have to get myself out of here. So I'm going to share in the main chat what those questions are, and then that should travel across with you into your breakaway rooms. There we go. And once I'm also going to share with us the link for the Jamboard. So if you are and you are comfortable with the Jamboard in your room, you can just dump your notes onto that Jamboard. If you're not, it's absolutely fine. We'll figure out another way to get that information back. And yeah, let's open up the breakaway rooms. We are going to have
Robin,
a room. Yes, is it Andrew?
Robin, maybe every group can appoint. Maybe every group. Sorry, my camera is misbehaving. Maybe I'm saying maybe every room can appoint a secretary to write down what. Just in case the Jamboard does not function, maybe every room can appoint a secretary to jot what they have talked about, what they have discussed about, with an expectation to come to the main room.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what our hope is. So we're going to leave it to you. You can all do it, and just to gather that info, and we'll find a way to make sure it comes back. Ideally, either into the chat now or onto the Jamboard. But if you can't manage, it's fine. We'll catch up later. You'll let us know, and we'll grab that info from you. We will open up a room. I'm going to ask Karima. I'm going to put Karima into room 5. If anybody wants to speak either French or Arabic to have this conversation, Karima will host that room. So just those people who want to speak in French or Arabic, stay in the main room until everybody else has left, and then we will place you into a room with Karima. Okay, so here are the breakaway rooms for us. They have been created. Pop yourselves off. Karima, if you can stay in this main room, and anybody else who wants to speak French and Arabic, just stay in this main room. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Okay, off we go. We'll see you back. We have 20 minutes in the breakaways. Board again here for us. And I was just saying, I hope that it was possible to capture some of that. Unfortunately, Zoom used to take the chat across to the room, and I'm not sure that it does anymore. I know some meetings I've been in recently it has, and some it hasn't. But I did try and pop into every room to leave you the Jamboard link. I hope that those of you who wanted to use it were able to use it. Wonderful. So can we jump back into a little bit of a shared reflection space coming out of that intimate discussion? The chat is available to put any thoughts that you have had, because it's the one place we will be able to collate all of those thoughts. But if we want to just open up again into a circle around what emerged for you from the rooms, we can maybe just go through room by room. So if you remember what room you were in, if somebody from each room could share the thoughts that they had from the room, and what the emphasis that you felt was present in your room. So do we want to kick off with somebody from room 1? Let me see
Okay,
if I can
do
yes.
that.
Thank you, Silvana.
So the focus seems to be on keeping the indigenous learning at the center of the learning. So not forgetting where we come from and keeping that at the center of everything. And
running out, getting people involved, and small reports, not huge, big reports,
Yeah.
not huge things, but little things, and then publishing. And I thought that was a really brilliant model. So I'm just mentioning that from my own experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, so not a lot of stuff in there, but thank you, Neil, and absolutely. And I think, this is really thinking about what are the multimodal ways of taking the learning and experience and taking the research coming out and making it accessible and penetrating thinking. So that's sort of also in this think tank space, really excited about thinking, so how do we do that? How do we take research that's been done, repackage it, reformulate it, put it into bite sides, and find lots of ways to convey that, and convey it via networks, because that's another very powerful way of transmitting thinking and learning and understanding. Wonderful. So room 5 was Agatha, Betty, Aileen, Jill, Yamina.
Thank you. I'll give us a quick overview. So we had Zambia, Kenya, Morocco, and South Africa in that room, and a lovely cross-section of experience from higher education, and an interest in both internationalization of higher education and also in quality of learning in higher education, and then quite a strong interest in the school education context. And then again, in the community education context around health systems and education within health systems, and also with parents, and what is the involvement of parents in creating conducive learning environment for their children. Similarly, there was quite a lot of talk around socio-emotional learning and education. So that was a sort of cross-section across all those contexts, and also just similar to the group before around not only academic outcomes and that hard measurement, but that was seen rather as a threat to learning. And there was interest in how we could build a framework for learning that loops in different knowledge, different values, and different ways in which knowledge is valued. How do we loop in parents? How do we loop in the wider community? And I think that sums up. Maybe anyone else from Group 5 would like to add?
Any other thoughts from that room? Okay, awesome. So room 6. So I'm so sorry, I actually have recreated the room, so I now no longer see who was in room 6, but I know you were, Rashid, and I think Renzo was, and a couple of others. So thoughts coming out of room 6. I see your hand, Rashid.
Yes, thank you so much. Robin and previous presenters. I would want to think of, as we're thinking of how we can make education a better for Africa, I would also think we need to look at some challenges, some departments that are hindering education in Africa to grow. We can't avoid the issue of instability in some African countries. We must also put our minds on climate change that are affecting young people in crossing the rivers, crossing the roads. So I would think we need to make as research as possible, going deeper in looking at factors that are hindering education sector to grow in Africa. I wouldn't think of we need to concentrate much on education, but I would think we need to put the other side of our high on the side of factors that are hindering education. That is my concern here, because I've seen education in most of African countries, especially in Uganda, that is much affected by poverty. The poverty line is down amongst the parents. So much as everyone wants to take the child at school, but it finds no funds and resources. So I would think as much as we grow far, let's think of that in our research and concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else coming from room 6? Any other, was there anybody that wants to add anything as to what came out of room 6?
Time, and it would be really very great if we also change the mode of education, especially in Africa. I gave an instance of cases of refugee camps, why it's necessary for us to involve them with technical educations, even in the universities these days, where we have lots of theories going on without practical approaches, and also in terms of entrepreneurship teachings for this sets of people. So I think whenever we should have a kind of approach of looking at having specific content based on the kind of environment where people find themselves. We shouldn't go on teaching the conventional education where you have places where these people are ravaged by Boko Haram. I'm talking from the Nigerian context. And you should teach them something that they shouldn't, when they get back to the society, they can become meaningful to the society after spending so many years in all that, because we've seen cases where some of them still went back and joined the terrorists and started a whole lot of things. So we should change this, and the aspect of environmental education should be added to new contexts, because the environment is changing and climate change is ravaging communities and destroying things. So people also, young people, youths need to understand what this is all about. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Chris. Absolutely. Really concur. Thank you very, very much. All right. So just before we continue, just to check if anybody has any additional thoughts that they want to add, any freshest thoughts, anything that really stands out for you coming through from the rooms. I'll keep a lookout for if any hands are up, and otherwise we will shortly move and continue to think about some specific themes to do with the think tank. Just okay. I see that Boniface, your hand is still up, but I think it is still from before. Okay. All right. So we will let's move on. Okay, and the space that we're going to go to now is back into breakaway rooms, and we're going to go into a new set of breakaway rooms, and here what we'd love you to do is just look at these 3 thematic areas. There are obviously lots of potentials, but let's just narrow it down and think about 3 areas that feel quite important. And if we can just move into an open discussion. The rooms will be slightly larger, so each room has a facilitator. Aziz will be facilitating the room on collaboration and knowledge sharing. And really the question is there, how can we strengthen collaboration and knowledge sharing amongst researchers, policymakers, and practitioners within the think tank, to drive impactful, relevant research in education? So that's going to be Aziz. The room is named Collaboration and Knowledge Sharing. If you're interested in that, join that room. In the next room, really thinking about mentoring and empowering young researchers or novice researchers within the think tank. So what strategies can be employed to mentor, support, empower young researchers, and ensure their meaningful participation and growth, and ensure that they are strengthened in their ability to bring their voice. That is going to be facilitated by Karima Orjani. So thank you, Karima. And then in room 6, if you have thoughts and you would like to discuss what strategies can be employed to secure research funding and resources to support not only the activities of the think tank, but actually to open up access for people who are engaged in interesting research, interested in interesting research. So how can we go about mobilizing research grants, connections to partnerships that will enable the kind of research that our continent needs and that this group is wanting to bring? How do we open up the channels to that resourcing? And yeah, that will be facilitated by Jill Atwood. So thank you very much, Jill. So I'm going to open the rooms up. If you can choose the room that you're interested in and make your way there. And really the goal is to just brainstorm a little bit. We're really looking for some ideas and also for some sort of sparking of possibilities that you see and novel thinking. So the rooms are open. There will be quite a few people in each room. So please, for each facilitator, if you can just manage and navigate and try and ensure that everybody has a voice. Again, we'll have 20 minutes in the breakaway rooms. Okay. Ah, damn it. I'm very sorry. I have to recreate the rooms because I pressed the wrong button. Okay, please be patient. I wish I had music. I don't. I do, but not right now. Okay, so collaboration and knowledge sharing. That's room 1. Aziz, I'm going to just invite you to go there because now I've messed myself up. So okay, room 2 is mentoring and empowering young researchers, and then research funding is in room 3. Okay. Just need to see what I'm doing here. There we go. Okay, the rooms are opening.
The room. Actually, I wanted to go to room 5.
I'm sorry, they named the rooms. So if you look on the names, you should see how they are named.
Yeah, but I just, where should I look for where they are named?
If you go down,
I found myself in room in the room 4, and I want to go to room 5.
That's okay. So we've recreated the rooms.
I'm going to room 4.
If you go down to the 3 little buttons on So on your Zoom tab at the bottom,
Yes.
where it's got your
Oh,
mute and
yes,
stop video,
yes.
all the way across
Yeah.
to the three little buttons. Push the three
Okay,
buttons.
I see. Thank you very much. Thank you. So,
right.
collaboration and knowledge sharing, mentoring, empowering.
Okay.
And then just locating the potential funders who are interested in your area. And part of that is made worse by the fact that all the funders' websites talk about what they funded last year, and they don't talk about what they're funding for next year. So I just wrote a 30-page application to Spencer Foundation, and we have no idea whether they're going to be interested in our topic or not this year, and it's very trendy. Anyway, those are some of the issues that I've been facing. They are getting a little bit better. Some of the large American foundations are realizing how dysfunctional their process has been, and they're talking about actually investing in teams rather than investing in a topic, which is a beginning, I think, of a change, which I hope we will see. So I put a few of those notes in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I'm just aware of time. I think that and I know that not everyone has had a chance to contribute to that. So I'm just asking for some guidance here, because it's very illuminating to know what the challenges are before we go into finding ways to address those challenges. And there's just so much there that really does kind of uncloak why it's so difficult to get funding and where we get it from. Do you want to continue with this, or would you like to ask a different question and have different people answer it, which is really, where have people been successful in getting funding and how has that happened? So anybody who's had great success and would like to just share that with us, about how you have been able to mobilize resources in different ways.
Maybe I can go, Gil. Maybe I can go. And
thank you, Andrew.
Apologies, my camera is not functioning. I wish it was, but it is just letting me down. But all the same, we have to continue. Mine may not be about the success, but maybe about a challenge which many organizations face in the process of raising funding. You will find that there are organizations outside there which are doing amazing work, but now the networking aspect now is what is costing them in getting funding, because you find they are doing amazing work, but now that they might need, because what I've noted actually, and of course with the people I've interacted with, is like networking plays a critical role in securing funding. That is, you have to know somebody who knows somebody. Either you have to know somebody who is in the funding space, or you have to know somebody who knows somebody who is in the funding space. And that has been a challenge, because you'll find that organizations are doing amazing work, but now it's like now the cutoff point is now knowing somebody who is in the funding space, or knowing somebody who knows somebody who is in the funding space. And I mean, in Africa Voices Dialogue, we're not complaining, but since inception, I remember Robin Aziz and myself at one point applied for funding in one of the organizations, and what they told us was we need to have existed. We must have existed for at least 3 years for us to qualify for this funding. Maybe my thinking was, what if they were to think about the work which you are doing? What if they were to think about the impact of the work which you are doing? Like, if we talk about what Africa Voices is doing and the networks which have developed in Africa Voices Dialogue, we have Equity Network, Equity and Heritage Network, we have Peace, we have research hub, we have parental engagement. And I know that in the process, quite a number of the other networks within AVD are going to crop up. But now, of course, resourcing plays a key role. Maybe and I should have maybe evaluated the kind of work which we have done in the last like 2.5 years now, and maybe go ahead and, because nothing is always cast in stone. I mean, especially in the education field. But again, I think the networking aspect is playing a very, very critical role when it comes to funding.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Lucy or would you like to add anything? Either on the challenges or successes that you've had in being able to get funding to support your work. You don't have to. I'm just wanting to give you a chance if you would like to say something. Or John?
Lucy seems to be muted.
Lucy's in an airport, so she can't, but John has
Oh, no,
unmuted.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
John is ready, though.
Sorry, Robin. John is ready. Oh, John, please do go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see that.
And okay, yes, but I haven't yet received the funding from anywhere, but I find it difficult to do this because the process itself is so long that maybe if you start doing the proposal and get the funds, not easy. So you just have to wait and then see, do yourself with other things, because also the opportunities for funding to researchers are less and it's not more. That also affects our research progress because of issues like that.
I mean, there's so much that's come out here, around power and access and communication and, who you know and how you positioned it, where you positioned it, and all of that. Does anyone have any success stories to share about how you've been able to raise funds?
So I can share, Jill, and I can share, what the really positive experiences have been. But so in a number of different instances, so not only the Africa Voices dialogue space, but I strongly believe that we've kind of reversed the role, and it is important to really be articulate about what you want to achieve and attract partners. That is, having said that, I mean, that's kind of an aspirational, and one would want to believe that it's the case, and it is not always the case, but there are partners out there that do work that way and that are responsive. And I think so the work on the side of the person looking for resourcing, I don't like to talk about funding only, it's really how does one resource the work that one's doing, is to become super articulate about what you are wanting to achieve. And secondly, look for the right partners. So not for funding per se, actually for the partners. And that is where so in AVD, where we have succeeded, basically the experience has been an attraction of that partner. And in terms of where we are looking at, it is really to rather work on that principle than work on, hell, we need money, like where do we go? But there's a lot of the difficulty with that is there's a lot of front loading. There's a lot of front loading work that happens. It's a huge amount of input until the flow opens. And I think that's why the other thing about the networking is, as a collective, if we can articulate what we do well, that's when we pick up second and third degree connections. And the last thing I want to say is this, and it's a principle that we really are wanting to try and implement in Africa Voices Dialogue, which is to apply or to motivate on each other's behalf. So paying it forward, looking for where opportunities arise, having the networks and actually referring each other, because somehow the energy, the dynamic of that experience is different from the me. It's a different, to speak quite esoterically, like a different energy, that it's an attractive energy rather than a desperate energy. But yeah, having said that, that's what we and I believe.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
It's so difficult because in the environment, it's about competition to survive, right? You get and someone else misses out. So that's that sort of competitive, me elbowing other people out so that you can get there first, is very much the environment, and counts against, against the bigger collective moving forward, because we all set against each other instead of being able to move forward together. So that I think for me is also one of the challenges. But just quickly, I'll say something and then I'm going to stop saying anything again. But another way in which I find it really useful to look at resources is outside of just money, but people as resources. I mean, if you look at the people in this room and the incredible opportunities, skills, the way people have contributed towards bringing this event around, how much, time as a resource, and how people have contributed time and thinking, and I think sometimes we undervalue that resource in our rush to get the hard money. So I'm just throwing that in there as well. The other thing I wanted to ask is, it speaks to that question of how we compete for resources, but it's around, can we build a database of resources? Is there a way of building a collective pool? It speaks to your point, Robin, about referring one another on. How do we get around this challenge of competing with one another to build a collective resource that can be shared for people who all wanting to achieve the same thing together? So that was just a suggestion to throw out. Lisa?
Well, that's part of why we're doing Open Portal Network, is specifically to encourage people to talk to each other. And we have conversation topics on funding, on building community-based organizations. And we are trying to build a database, but of course we're not funded. So we're facing the same problem that everybody else is. But understanding that we have a choice as to whether we engineer our society in such a way that it's win-lose, zero-sum game, or whether it's high synergy, win-win. We're so immersed in this I win, you lose approach that we don't realize how to synergize. And then I want to go back and reemphasize the networking. One of my favorite funding stories is the Computer History Museum in Silicon Valley, California, applied to Gates Foundation for 14 years for $1 million grant. And what they got was $1,000 for 14 years. And in the 15th year, after they had proved that they could survive, they got a $15 million grant from Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
It's delightful that happened, that they got the money eventually, but it's just such a tragedy that they had to go through that. And the rest organizations can't survive that process.
Yeah. And it's what you were saying, John, also about the process of applying for funding being so arduous. It's almost a PhD in itself to get funding to do your PhD. And I can't remember who said, but it's that cost benefit. Do you want to, how much is that going to cost you, the application, for what kind of benefit?
And if you're working in a low resourced area, when we're working in the refugee camp in Uganda, in Nakivale, it's like people are saying, but this is so important. I mean, it's important because they're seeing their children dying from lack of sanitation. And to have to go through this very dry process, that funders don't understand the reality of what it's like to be watching your neighbors sickening and dying whilst somebody else is going to some conference with a chocolate fountain. I've been to that with USAID. So frustrating.
Yes. Yes, so I don't want to go into solution mode, but I can share my methodology at the moment, how I go about with situations like this, and what I can do similarly for Africa Voices Dialogue is that we go about with drawing a ecosystem map in terms of seeing the opportunities out there, and then not only looking at it in terms of fundraising proposals only, but in terms of the ecosystem of how can we benefit each other, of that type of you're not only my competition, we live in symbiosis type effect, and return how the research being done can be an investment for someone else, and then how the research being done can then be translated into for example, books or other types of commercial things that can have a commercial value that we can then do on e-commerce and look at opportunities in that regard. And then if we have as Robin said, a well-articulated why or what and how of the research topics, then as I do my fundraising as a whole and go through opportunities, then definitely anything that comes up I will share. And I'm in the process that my next step will be opening so I have an open platform where we have fundraising resources available on Afrango. But I'm going to open a second one, which is a bit more private, where we can share resources, which is just for the community, which includes like a database with different resource opportunities, where I just summarize what I found that can be helpful. And we have ESG stuff on there as well. So that's where I'm at in terms of the process. Yeah. Okay. Robin, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, no, I just thank you, Brefi. So, I think you're doing that for us already. It's just that we so what Brefi brings up brings me to the concept of resources again, non-financial resources, and the experience. So the experience I have is almost the managing abundance, not financial necessarily, but managing the abundance of opportunities and the difficulty with time resourcing, and just bringing in another. So at a personal level, Brechi, to kind of move into Afrango, move into a better Africa, because that's another, like, it's all the scope that this is possible. And, how do we mobilize the human resources to allow it to happen? So, just to share another sort of success, our sense of success in the resourcing of the work that we've done here. Every single person who's come to the work of Africa Voices Dialogue has come on the force of attraction. We have not been able to pay them at the initial phase. Those who we do specific work, we try. So there's a huge thing about respect. Even though we don't have a lot of resources, we try to remunerate, because remunerate is a demonstration of respect, even if it's minimal. But, the resources, Jordan wrote a thesis. It's a 60-page long thesis, a phenomenal thesis, but like, it's a lot to get through. And out of the blue, an individual came and said, I'm learning to become a copywriter. Can you give me some stuff? And so you know, this opportunity. Our website was built on a, you know, that kind of basis. Our comms manager came, our Zoe, our comms manager, joined us on that basis. And it is this sort of, there's a lot in terms of this conversation around the letting go of control and ego to welcome in the capacity for resourcing. And we are keen to experiment with that as a collective as well. I'm going to have to close the rooms now. So, sorry.
What a wonderful conversation. Thank you to everyone. I think we've only just started.
Still 60 seconds, so you can carry on.
Oh, there's still
I go
60
back.
seconds. Okay. Also, just Breche, just to contribute.
Welcome back to those who are here. We'll have the flood coming in soon. Hi, Neil. Agatha, sorry, I know you got left there for a few seconds. We were just like in the midst of a big conversation, and I didn't want to move you and then have to move you back again.
Yeah. So, Robin, while I have you, yes, so there might be a fifth Africa Voice. No, not might. There's going to be a fifth Africa Voices dialogue maybe coming in September. Yeah, in